Now, there are a number of organizations that we asked to come up just to give short greetings. I want to ask those that we've invited to please come on up. We're going to just take a few minutes doing this, but I think it's the most important part in many ways of tonight's program, because this is what we build on the ground. And each of you will introduce yourselves and the organization that you're representing. The messages here really are messages of solidarity, of resistance, of our continuing unity. All right. All right, let me. Yes, thank you. We want to. How about we just start off? Come on, don't be shy.
Go ahead. Get started.
Okay, good. Yeah. Organization.
Greetings, comrades. Thank you to all the organizations who spent their time to make this happen. My comrade and I here are representing a New York City-based organization called Arm the Dolls, which is a trans women-led organization, Marxist-Leninist organization, and our mission is to provide political education, physical training, and community resources to our community who have been viciously attacked by current and former administrations, which attempt to strip us of our rights, humanity, and dignity through state-sanctioned violence. We are here to stand in absolute solidarity with Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, Iran, Palestine, and all nations facing the wrath of Western imperialism through sanctions, propaganda, and regime change.
It's important for us to show up in solidarity against Western imperialism. Let's not be tricked by American propaganda, which aims to divide us. The genocide in Palestine and in the Congo and South Sudan, the preeminent invasion of Venezuela, and the gender war that we see globally are all forms of oppression connected and forced onto us by the same hand, capitalism. As trans people, we know that our liberation will not be guaranteed as long as our siblings internationally are living in a world that is shaped by Western sanctions, conquest, and capital. We stand with the global majority in this fight for freedom. Thank you so much.
The Struggle for Socialism Party and our publication, Struggle La Lucha, pledges all our solidarity to the Bolivarian Revolution, the Venezuelan government, and its people. We pledge all efforts to defeat any and all war efforts by the U.S. Pentagon and the White House. Workers and poor people here in the U.S. have nothing to gain from imperialist war. Hands off Venezuela!
Buenas tardes, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Ramón Méndez, de parte de la Revolución Ciudadana del Ecuador, ex legislador de la Revolución Ciudadana del Ecuador y actual coordinador de formación política de la Revolución Ciudadana de su capítulo acá en Nueva York. I'm going to speak in English for the sake of most of our comrades here. My name is Ramon. I'm with the Citizens Revolution of Ecuador, former legislator with the Citizens Revolution of Ecuador, and current political formation appointee here for our chapter in New York. I'm here to send a message of solidarity with Venezuela, with Nicolás Maduro, with Comandante Chávez and his spirit, because as we speak, there are many protests happening in Peru against one of the most unpopular presidents in the world. There are protests happening right now in Ecuador against the most neoliberal, the most right-wing president, apart from Milei, in South America at this moment. And having a place like Venezuela, like Cuba, like Nicaragua, of solidarity, of camaraderie with the rest of Latin America that still keep the flame alive of La Patria Grande, of our one Bolivarian patria. It's truly important that we support Venezuela and that we do not leave her alone today. If not, many of these other right-wing governments can take hold in Latin America. And in 2025 and 2026, we have a bunch of elections happening across Latin America, and we cannot let what happened to Bolivia happen to any of our other countries. And supporting Venezuela and standing with Venezuela, despite whatever political ideology we might have, it's crucial to preserving the safety and the sovereignty of all of Latin America. That's just a fact. So today, from Ecuador, from the Ecuadorian diaspora abroad, and from our leader Rafael Correa Delgado of the Citizens Revolution, we stand with Venezuela. Le mandamos un abrazo, una fuerza, y que viva Venezuela! Hasta la victoria siempre!
Hello, my name is David Paul from the Venezuela Solidarity Network, a group of activists, some of you are here, recently organized. And we're very fortunate to have voices from Venezuela here to talk about the reality of Venezuela, also to tell the UN that they ought to follow their own rules and principles of behavior among nations. And especially it's important in this context, which people have spoken to, with increased hostility and aggression of this corporate gangster criminal government that runs this country against the peoples of Venezuela, a threat to the region, a threat to the continent, a threat to peace everywhere, as it continues to be complicit in the genocide against the Palestinians. The Venezuelans are always reminding us that we're in a battle of ideas. We have to counter the propaganda that they use to cover their crimes. And we have to, they're always reminding us as well that the imperialist methods, what imperialism is doing now is nothing new. From Thomas Jefferson to Trump, it's been the same pattern of domination and plunder, and we're seeing it alive. And there's a thing I remember from a video of Fidel, certainly after the revolution, asked a huge crowd of people, what's the most important, I mean, everyone could have their own, but what's the most important value for a revolutionary? And his answer was courage. And I think Venezuela is one of the best examples, along with Cuba, Nicaragua, the Palestinians, and other people struggling for justice, of that courage and how you deal with bullies. And we in this Venezuelan Solidarity Network, we recognize the importance that Venezuela's in the front lines of the battle against imperialism. We have to raise our voices and join our voices in that fight, and urge all other people, whatever groups and organizations and issues you still work with, to seek and tell the truth about Venezuela. Venezuela is not a threat. Venezuela is hope. Viva Chavez! Chavez vive! La lucha sigue.
Greetings, comrades. My name's Larry Holmes. I'm with Workers' World Party, and we want to just say flat out that our position at this moment regarding Venezuela is that it's the most important issue, the most important threat at the moment, at this moment, and defending Venezuela against U.S. aggression is the main thing at this moment, and it's strategic, comrades. The first thing that they want to do is crush the revolution, and they'll fail. But they're not going to move that armada of warships and all those thousands of troops. Who knows how many thousands of troops that they have in the waters surrounding all of South America. As Comrade said, you know, Cuba could be next, Nicaragua, Panama, and you name it. Their strategy, and this is not hyperbole, is to establish what amounts to a military dictatorship throughout the entire hemisphere. To one extent or another, this was always their objective, but it's different now, comrades. And the other part is to establish a military dictatorship right here. And that is why they're sending troops into the streets of our cities. They are setting up the infrastructure, comrades, to declare martial law. And it had nothing to do with crime. And of course, you know, the war on migrant workers is a big part of it. but they're getting ready for massive resistance. So, for all of us who are fighting and who know people who are fighting about all the issues, we're overwhelmed by attacks. We must go out and we must explain to them and convince all of the progressive activists and anti-imperialist forces that defending Venezuela is not somebody else's issue. It's your issue. Because it's connected to a grand, diabolical strategy that's underway that affects everyone. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Medea Benjamin with the group Code Pink. And I have the unenviable job of being in Congress almost every day. And I think one of the things we have to do is really take advantage of the divisions in the empire. We have Marco Rubio on the one hand, who would love to use the pretext of drugs to accomplish what he wants, regime change in Venezuela. But then we have pushback coming in very interesting places. Some of them, of course, within the Democratic Party, saying that the president doesn't have the right to use the military if it's not approved by Congress. But we even have Republicans, like the head of the Homeland Security, Rand Paul, saying that it is despicable to blow up boats, to blow up people without any kind of due process. And of course, I love the comments coming from the Global South, like the head of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, who in his speech yesterday said that if you really want to go after drug dealers, you don't go after poor people in little dinghies. You go after the rich people who are living around Mar-a-Lago in Florida. So I just want to say, let's use these divisions that exist within the empire to show that the majority of the American people do not want to go to war with Venezuela. The majority of the American people are with us when we say, hands off Venezuela. Thank you.
Greetings, comrades and friends. I'm Bahman Azad, representing the United States Peace Council. I have the honor of bringing you the most heartfelt, steadfast solidarity with the people of Venezuela, their Bolivarian revolution, and their government. We have had the honor of working very closely with the Foreign Ministry of Venezuela and Simon Bolivar Institute since its inception with great honor, and we have been trying to bring the people of the United States the understanding of what is going on in Venezuela. The issue is that at this time, it is not just Venezuela. As you see all these flags behind me, a new front has started and is continuing to resist. And this resistance is going to be victorious. The United States has lost this battle already. And is resorting to every form of crime, be it in Latin America, in the Middle East, in Asia, to regain or try to safeguard its losing hegemonic control. So we have to put our hands together and join together in one unified anti-imperialist front to battle this fight to the end and put an end to all imperialism in all its forms. Thank you.
What's good, yo? I'm representing Mass Mutual Aid. We're based in Brooklyn. We want to say today that the people of Brooklyn are struggling and the entire country is struggling, and not just the country is broke. The country is going downhill. And Kwame Ture, the great Kwame Ture, he told us back in 1979, what happens when the United States is broke? What happens when we don't got no money? He said, WAR, war. They take our money so fascist Rubio could push his Nazi rhetoric. Recently they accurately renamed the Department of Defense into the Department of War, but we say they should take it one step further and name it the Department of Terrorism, because when they fund terrorism, We want to say they fund terrorism when they bomb boats off the coast of Venezuela. They fund terrorism in Gaza, in the whole of West Asia. They fund regime change in Syria. They fund terrorism across the world. They fund chaos across the world so that they can reap the benefits, so that they can exploit the resources. But we know that where there is oppression, there will be resistance. And we know that we wholeheartedly stand by the resistance, if not actively engage in that resistance. And we know that the resistance from Venezuela to Lebanon to Gaza to all oppressed nations across the world, the resistance will win. La lucha sigue!
Hello everyone, my name is Che. I'm with a group called Bronx Anti-War. We're based in the Bronx, and our mission is to create solidarity between our community in the South Bronx and anti-imperialist resistance around the world. One of the main jobs that we have is to draw parallels and draw connections between our community in the Bronx and resistance to imperialism and capitalism around the world. When we talk about why we support Venezuela, we talk about the fact that in 2005, under Hugo Chavez, Venezuela donated over $400,000 worth of oil to people in the South Bronx.
Right.
The people of the South Bronx were so happy that they created a mural honoring Hugo Chavez and Venezuela in the South Bronx too. One of the main ways that the United States builds support for regime change in Venezuela is through tactics of demonization and through calling the entire Venezuelan people drug pushers and drug cartels. And we educate our community because that's the same tactic that U.S. imperialism and the U.S. state uses against our people in the South Bronx. They criminalize us, they call us drug dealers and drug pushers, and that's why our people can see these parallels. And that's why we see that the tactics that the United States uses to oppress black and brown communities like ours in the South Bronx is the same tactics that they use to oppress people in Venezuela. So I challenge everybody here to draw parallels between the struggles that we have here in the United States and the struggles that we see abroad in Venezuela, because it is one united struggle, one class struggle. The people that are facing oppression are all workers, and we need to draw parallels and make ourselves connected to the workers in Venezuela who are now picking up arms to resist and defend their nation, and we have to learn from them. Eventually we have to do the same thing here in the United States. Thank you.
Cuba sí. Bloqueo no. Cuba sí. Bloqueo no. Cuba sí. Bloqueo no. Hands up. Venezuela. Hands up. Venezuela. Hands up. Venezuela. Greeting, comrades, and also hands up to Nicaragua as well. We can't forget about Nicaragua and the revolution of Sandino, the Sandinista revolution. So I'm here. My name is Yamir Chabur. I'm here. I was told to speak on behalf of the Venceremos Brigade, which is one of the oldest brigades in solidarity with the Cuban Revolution for over 56 years. I was honored to be part of the 50th contingent of the Venceremos Brigade, taking U.S. citizens to Cuba to learn more about the Cuban Revolution, to break that heinous blockade that the U.S. government has over the island of Cuba. And right now, we send our solidarities to Venezuela, to the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, because we understand very well how much Cuba and Venezuela are sister nations. From the time of Bolivar to the time of Martí to Fidel to Chavez, Cuba and Venezuela have stood together in all these struggles and aggressions of U.S. imperialism. So it's very important that we always stand in solidarity and understand our role here, because I've been to both Cuba and Venezuela and also Nicaragua. Understand that like our role here is very important inside the belly of the beast, the way José Martí wrote it, La extraña del monstruo, in organizing and breaking the blockade. The way we do this right here, this room right here, solidarity,
We're breaking the blockade, the media blockade, the cultural, political blockade that the U.S. government has over these countries. So it's very important, and I just want to wrap up with saying, like Fidel said, you can blockade a lot of things, but one thing you can't blockade is solidarity. Viva la solidaridad! Viva Cuba! Viva Nicaragua! Viva Venezuela! Viva el pueblo del mundo!
Good evening. My name is Roger Wareham. I am a representative of the December 12th movement. And we join in the previous and the statements of support that will follow in terms of offering our unreserved support for Venezuela. Our community remembers, as one of the prior comrades said, the subsidized oil that made it possible for people to heat their homes when, if it was left up to U.S. companies, they would have frozen to death. They remember that Venezuela came out in support of Zimbabwe when the United States and the UK were trying to isolate them for having the temerity to take their land back from the countries that colonized them. We remember that Venezuela had a national conference on reparations 7 years ago that I attended that was full of international observers when the United States doesn't even want to acknowledge that reparations are due. So we remember all those things. And we understand that this current attack, this escalating attack on Venezuela is a double-edged sword for the United States. On one hand, it comes at socialism. It comes at the whole boogeyman of socialism that they raise when they don't want to deal with what the world is coming to. On the other hand, it allows them, it gives Trump an excuse, because if the one point of resistance he has found when he's taken some of these executive orders and gone to court is that he said he was doing the deportation, he was doing all these things because the United States was under war. And one court said, what war? There's no war been declared. So the provocation with Venezuela is to try and push them to attack in a way that he can then say war is on, and the last barrier that's preventing him from just exercising outright control in the United States will be gone. So we understand that. And we understand that this call, this meeting, these events are a demand, particularly upon groups that consider themselves progressive, revolutionary, that we have to come together. We have to put aside whatever differences that we think are so crucial that it prevents us from coming together, because they're very united in terms of what they want to do. Finally, I just want to say this. Puerto Rico, the struggle for independence in Puerto Rico is part of the whole struggle in the Caribbean for national independence. Tuesday was the 20th anniversary of the assassination of Filiberto Ojeda Rios, who was the comandante of Los Macheteros and a resolute fighter for the independence of Puerto Rico. And I just want to raise this because sometimes people will forget. The United States very cynically killed him on the day of El Grito de Lares, which is a Puerto Rican Independence Day, from the point of view of the independentistas. So I want to raise up his name, that we honor him along with the other heroes that have passed in time. Que viva la resistencia, Venezuela. Hands off Venezuela. Peace.
Uhuru is a key Swahili word that means freedom, and my name is Lisa Davis. I'm with the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, which is part of the Uhuru movement. And I want to say, on behalf of everybody that I work with in the Uhuru movement and the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, that we stand 100% in solidarity with Venezuela, Cuba, Latin America, Africa, Palestine, and all the oppressed people of the world. We are with you. We say hands up Africa, hands up Latin America, hands up Asia. Colonizers, go home. And we say hands up Black and brown people in the United States and throughout the world. We are with you. And on November 1st, we are having our annual Black People's March on the White House. We have always said we don't give a damn who sits at the helm of U.S. imperialism. U.S. imperialism must die, colonialism must be overturned, and the oppressed people of the world, we must stand united together. So we invite you to join with us on November 1st in Washington, D.C. for our annual March on the White House, in which all kinds of people come together with these issues. And we must give a message that we are not afraid. We don't care who's in that White House. And thank you so much. And I congratulate my comrades for having this very important forum.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Ryan Delaney. I'm a member of the Anti-War Action Network Steering Committee. AWAN is a network of grassroots anti-war organizations around the United States committed to building a broad movement opposed to the greatest cause of injustice in the world today, the very thing that has brought all of us here today, the U.S. and its senseless, destructive wars, sanctions, and interventions, the beast itself, U.S. imperialism. We launched earlier this year, but we are already 20 chapters strong throughout the United States. I'm coming here from Jacksonville, Florida, and we are dead set on growing further because a fighting anti-war movement, a fighting anti-imperialist movement is what we need right now. When ICE is using Palantir spy technology that was built for the Zionist occupation, when the killer cops here in the USA are being sold arms by our own military and trained by its bedfellow imperialists like the IOF, when the war profiteers are dominating all of our local politics wherever we come from, it's a fighting movement against U.S. imperialism that unites every one of us in this struggle. So we must always remain committed to our fight against U.S. imperialism and U.S. intervention, because whoever it points its head at, its feet are on the rest of us. And what are we going to do when its feet are on us? Tom said it earlier, we are going to topple it over. So let's get together, let's work together, and let's topple this beast. Let's topple U.S. imperialism from Venezuela to Palestine and the U.S. war machine.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sydney Loving. I'm on the Central Committee of Freedom Road Socialist Organization, and our solidarity with Venezuela is not just because the Bolivarian Revolution is showing the way to freedom and showing the way to liberation, but also because we have the exact same enemy. We have the exact same enemy. They're sitting up there on Wall Street. They're sitting there in the White House, and they'd like us to believe that their power is absolute, but it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. This system is dying. The system is dying, but it needs a kick in the grave, right? So that's where our solidarity comes in. That's where our movement comes in. We're building a revolutionary movement. It's a good day to be a revolutionary. And like I said, our solidarity with Venezuela is unwavering. You know, their power is not absolute. They're failing. Their schemes in Venezuela have failed again and again, and they're going to keep failing because the future belongs to the people. Thank you.
Good evening. Greetings, everybody. It's nice to see such a large crowd together here in solidarity with Venezuela and all the struggling nations in the world right now. My name is Suzanne Ross, and I have been working with International Concerned Family and Friends of Mumia Abu Jamal for a long time. And there's been a tremendous unity, really, between the struggle of Mumia as a political prisoner in this country and the struggle of Venezuela. And I've been in Venezuela 4 times under the leadership of William Kamikaro right here, who's done amazing work in organizing regular people in this country, all kinds of people, to go to delegations in Venezuela. And it's built up such solidarity, because every time you go there, you are inspired. And whether it was Chavez, who's obviously an incredible leader, and Maduro today, who shows such courage and strength, it's always strengthening to those of us from this country who often have to deal with such poor leadership, so-called leadership. So this is a moment where we have to continue our solidarity and continue to work together and understand the unity between the struggle of revolutionary forces in this country, which Mumia certainly represents, and the struggle of revolutionary forces in Venezuela and the rest of Latin America. So I thank you very much. I thank everybody for coming and for being at this event and for building unity and solidarity. Que viva Venezuela!
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Tarice Riarte Medina. I am a member of the Cuba C Coalition, and I wanted to make some remarks in regards to our solidarity to Venezuela, to Haiti, to Sudan, to all the oppressed people of the world. I'm echoing many of the sentiments of my comrades here, which we have been able to do movement work together, both with Mumia Movement and other organizations. But I am coming to you to let you know that this is a continuous struggle that we need to stand hand in hand and stand 10 toes down with the people of Venezuela. As all of you know, that Cuba has always stood 10 toes down for Venezuela. Puerto Rico has always stood 10 toes down for Venezuela, and we will continue to do so. As a member of the Cuba C Coalition, we are preparing to go to the UN for a vote next month, and in that, we will carry with us strong solidarity movement into those chambers, into the General Assembly, to stand again with our brothers and sisters of Venezuela and other people of the world who have been impacted by the U.S. imperialist system and systems. So I stand before you again to say Cuba sí, bloqueo no, and hands off Venezuela. May the struggle continue, la lucha continuar.
Good evening, comrades. My name's V, and I represent Jazz Against Genocide. We are a Marxist-Leninist performing arts organization standing with Palestine, Sudan, Venezuela, Cuba, the Congo, and every single nation in opposition to the genocidal machine that is U.S. imperialism. A machine that stole black music, appropriating it for capitalist exploitation and imperial propaganda. Max Roach wrote the Freedom Now suite in 1960 for South African liberation. 30 years later, Nelson Mandela said, "Our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." We are supporting the picket of the United Nations through its 8th and final week and its 250th hour, calling it out, the UN, as a mere pawn of Western imperialism. The same UN that was built on land stolen twice from the indigenous and the working class. The same UN that was built with Rockefeller money that he made from Nazi eugenics. The same UN that never materially acts against the Western Empire. They have voted every year, toothlessly since 1992, against the U.S. blockade of Cuba, but they have not acted against it. A blockade that is now in its 67th year and has now expanded to our allies in Venezuela. The same UN that approved U.S. interference in the Korean War to prop up fascists and kill 4 million people, or another 6 million butchered in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq. They abetted the assassination of Patrice Lumumba when he called for help and dissolved his body in acid. They colonized our allies in Haiti for 10 years and infected them with cholera. And in Palestine, they started the Nakba that displaced over 1 million people. They have let Israel and the Western Empire make a mockery of the very international law with which they bully developing nations who dare resist their hegemony. No more. We affirm the right of Venezuela and every other nation in the global south and the axis against U.S. imperialism to repel the U.S. empire and capitalist sabotage by any means necessary. Even as we speak, the UN discusses Palestine with no Palestinians present. We stand with the global south and the workers of the world when we say from the bottom of our hearts, down with the UN and down with the empire. Viva Venezuela! Resistencia!
Dear comrades, it's a pleasure to join you all, to stand here with our brothers and sisters from Venezuela, from Cuba, from Palestine. On behalf of the People's Forum, we extend not just our solidarity, but alongside all the other organizations in this room, our commitment to stand with Venezuela until the last consequences, to stand with the people of Venezuela against imperialist aggression, to join the people of the world in mobilizing against not just the Trump administration, but the forces of the far right, the forces of fascism that have in fact declared war on all of humanity. We understand very well that the war that is being threatened on the people of Venezuela is simply the other side of the coin of a war that is being waged on Black America, a war being waged on immigrants in this country, a war on poor and working people, a war on everyone who does not conform to the designs of white supremacy in this country. That is why we understand that when we stand with Venezuela, we stand for ourselves. Those who do not know how to fight for others will never know how to fight for themselves. So in these perilous times, in these times in which Trump threatens humanity, in which Trump threatens the people of Venezuela, of Cuba, of Nicaragua, in which Trump continues to sponsor genocide against the people of Palestine, we will meet this moment in the streets. We will meet this moment in the millions, mobilizing the working people of this planet, because we know, because history has taught us so, that only organization, only organized people power can defeat fascism. Thank you, comrades.